folks, MasakoX here. Now this story was born from one of our requests from our Dragon Ball Roundtable livestreams, the best place for you to get your ideas into us, as well as supporting the overall channel. We usually go on Fridays, but this idea that we originally had something to do with future Gohan having a son, and them going back in time to deliver the news about the android menace to the Dragon Team. That was all well and good, but we wanted to up the ante, take it one step further, really make it interesting, fuse it with something that people were also interested in us tackling in the fullness of time. That being the notion of Piccolo having a son of his own. We all know that he might choose to have one eventually, when all of his allies have succumbed to the rigors of aging, so why not deal with it in the future timeline? In the last part, we began with the time and situation. Piccolo didn't survive the future timeline. We were not going to make him overly powerful in this story and, oh, he gets to survive because. No, he still falls like he did in the original. However, he is able to do something different than he did in the narrative in the original one by spitting out an egg, carrying on his line. Some folks were kind of confused about whether or not this was a reincarnation of Piccolo or not. No, the child, who we named Basari, is their own entity, and thusly has no connection to Kami, and thusly that chain was broken. And it doesn't necessarily mean that Basari is a warrior clan Namekian, could be someone else. And yeah, the Dragon Balls are still turned to stone. Gohan and Bulma found the egg and took care of it, until it hatched, albeit 3 years later, much longer than it took for Piccolo Jr. to be born. And the trend continued, even when the young Namekian had been welcomed into the wild world. For nearly a decade now, as Gohan became an adult, Basari remained in his infant-like state. But what became of him dazzled them all. His power, his potential power, was incredible. Granted, he wasn't a strong fighter, but what he could do with his hands was nothing short of game-changing. Everything could be different. All that time spent in his little form and egg had clearly led to remarkable things that could spell prosperous times in the future. All of this intrigue led to Gohan being revived, and even getting his arm back, and both he and Trunks planned to go back in time once it became available. Gohan and Basari went first to find some answers as to how they could possibly raise Basari effectively, make the most of his powers. All they had to do was not cause any time paradoxes or bring up any awkward questions, but then Basari called Piccolo Dada. Oh dear. They literally just stopped fighting Frieza too. The outburst from the baby Namekian had caused the mood to suddenly tense up once more. They thought they were done with this after the shocking twists of Frieza and Cold being walloped, but apparently not. Everyone was silent for a moment, not sure what to think. But then, thankfully, present Bulma suddenly waded in. "Oh, look at how sweet the little Namekian is!" Gohan breathed an internal sigh of relief. Managed to get away with it. Bulma had mistook that uttering, "Oh, just be general baby talk, nothing specific." Since the Dragon Team were mostly not adept at the development of young children, especially with baby Namekians, they would most likely go along with the engineer's sentiments, that is just general baby chatter. Nevertheless, future Gohan looked troubled, trying to steer the conversation away from that near rumbling and flub. So far, the cosmos hadn't looked in their direction and decided to go, hello, what's all this then? Do I need to erase some fools, sir?" Yes, he truly is. Listen, if we all wait for just a moment longer, Goku should be arriving soon." President Gohan seemed intrigued at that certain deduction. "Oh? Are you my dad's friend? Did you meet him out in space?" Not exactly." Vegeta scoffed at the time traveler and chose to walk over to the future iteration of Gohan, eyeing him up suspiciously. "If you're not Kakarot's confidant, then how do you know that he will return? Are you some kind of desperate vigilante? And what even was that?" Gohan would have been more scared of Vegeta had his past self not been so weak compared to he. He steeled himself up and spoke calmly, but with authority. "I will explain everything in time. When Goku arrives." Vegeta grunted and walked off. Good. He'd managed to intimidate the prince just enough for him to step back. Not too much, though. Basari stuck his tongue out at Vegeta for daring to scare Gohan. "What was that?" Vegeta whipped around at the raspberry, but Bulma snubbed back. "Oh, relax, Vegeta. The little Namekian probably needs his diaper changed or something, right?" Gohan didn't know what to say. Luckily for him though, he was saved from another awkward exchange by a capsule hurtling towards Idiot Rock, and yes, that was from outer space, it was Goku. It quickly arrived to whisk the baby talk away. The Basari was more fascinated by present Gohan and was then trying to free himself from his carrier to get closer. Much to the time traveler's annoyance, Basari wanted to meet the past Gohan. He remembered what his future self looked like when he was a child and found this all rather weird to see it again, from the outside. This was then masked by the noise that the capsule had made as it arrived and crashed into the ground, a big boom, which even attracted Basari's attention for just a moment. Everyone, except Vegeta of course, greeted Goku in his Yardratian garb as he made his way out of the pod. Gohan's heart pounded. Both of the Gohans. As for the future version, he hadn't seen his father since he was about 10 years old. And sure enough, it was the real deal. It was almost as if that time had not passed. His old dad was right back there. This Goku is exactly the same that future Gohan remembered. He was lost in thought for a while, understandably. But then he suddenly realized that his father and all of his friends were approaching him for more answers.
Yo, who are you, buddy? My friends tell me you're pretty strong. You managed to take out Freezer in seconds. I wish I could have done that, but thanks for protecting the planet for me. Would you look at that? A baby Namekian. I ain't seen one of those before. Hello, I'm Goku.
He shook Basari's hand, much to the little Namekian's joy.
Goku. Nearly got it, little man. And you would be...
Yeah, Goku. A minute of your time, please. Basari was waving his little hands towards past Gohan, though. Future Gohan sighed and took his carrier off with Basari in it and walked over to his old self. Say, I wanted to talk to your father, face to face. Could you look after my little buddy for a while? His name is Basari and he seems to like you. Perhaps this might help him calm down a bit and relax. It's not been an easy journey.
All right, if you don't mind, mister.
Thank you, said the time traveler, handing over the little one to his past self, much to Basari's confusion, as he realized that there were two Dadas now. Before they moved, future Gohan nodded to Piccolo. You should probably come too. You probably would be able to hear the entire conversation anyway. What? The Namekian looked attacked. Fine. You seem to know your Namekian's kid. Who did you say you were again? I'll explain forthwith. Let's go. Gohan and Goku walked off a fair distance from the others, with Piccolo behind them, looking very, very puzzled and watching the little green guy intently. He couldn't recall any Namekians being born recently, and why would a guy just randomly have one? Were there more out there, scattered amongst the stars that were not necessarily born on Namek? That would be a question for him to pose for sure. They ventured behind a nearby hill so that they wouldn't be disturbed and they could have some peace. Alright, spill it. What's your deal exactly? You came barging in, take down the guy we could barely kill like it were child's play. Now what do you want? Piccolo crossed his arms. Gohan was getting a little nervous. He really didn't want to have to assert himself again with these two, like he'd done with Vegeta. Before that though, I really need to ask you for your discretion. What I'm about to tell you may seem quite out there. Piccolo looked dubious. Okay, so I'm from the future. Both Goku and Piccolo's eyes widened, but they said nothing. In which two androids built by the Red Ribbon Army killed nearly everyone on the planet. Nobody was able to stop them from carrying out their mission. Not even you, Goku. You succumbed to a heart virus before they arrived. Everyone else perished, save for me and my student.
Okay, who's your student? Is it the little green one?
Truth be told, my student may not exist yet. Piccolo raised his brow. And we're supposed to believe that? What a joke. Time travel doesn't exist. I can assure you, it does. The Bulma in my timeline developed a time machine for us to safely traverse the temporal planes. I just did it.
If anyone could make time travel work, it would be Bulma. I believe in Piccolo.
The big green grunted and Gohan resumed his explanation. He had to resort to quite a big giveaway as to his identity. He hoped that maybe space-time would be fair on him and it wouldn't collapse in on itself. I have further proof. During our first training session, you told me to hunt dinosaurs. I also struggled a little bit with, dodging. That did it. Oh, wait, impossible!
You know this guy?
It's Gohan, you oaf!
Gohan? But Gohan is over... Oh, future, right.
Please don't tell the others. We may have discovered time travel, but we still don't know about the consequences it may befall either timeline. Also, Basari, my little pal, he's your son, Mr. Piccolo.
My what?
Piccolo's green color suddenly looked distinctly paler. He's older than he looks. I brought him here so that maybe you and Kami could, but Piccolo just flew away. It seemed as if he needed a moment. Goku didn't seem all that worried. He had taken the news of his future son being right there in front of him like a duck to water. Way better than the Namekian.
I wouldn't worry. I think it's just sudden shock is all. Anywho, tell me more about these androids.
Typical Goku, always wanting to know about future fights. And so, Gohan told his past father everything he knew, including what they looked like for one. Actually, I want to pause the what if for a second here, and ask you a question. Why didn't Trunks do that in the original? Describe what the androids looked like? Yes, I know that the real world reason for that was because Toriyama hadn't gotten around to designing them at that point in the story, but in-world, surely that might have saved them some time, or could have led to some more investigations, perhaps? But yeah, question for later, back to the what if. After Piccolo took a lap around the valley to gather his thoughts, he returned. When he got back to where they were, he had caught the tail end of a Super Saiyan sparring match that future Gohan and Goku had chosen to undertake, the latter wanting to test the former's might for himself. When they powered down, Goku patted Gohan's shoulder with pride.
Boy, I gotta say, you got really strong, pal.
Gohan blushed. Thanks, Dad, but it's still not enough to do any damage to... Oh, welcome back, Mr. Piccolo.
Apologies, but that was a lot to take in. Did I?
Yes, Mr. Piccolo, you perished too. But you spat on an egg beforehand, and he is amazing. I don't think a Namekian is alive today with that kind of healing ability that Basari has. We don't have much to go on, but we reckon that he might have slowed his physical development down because of the androids. He spent 3 years as an egg, and even more than that as a toddler, like you just saw. I brought him to the past so that maybe yourself or Kami could figure it out. Piccolo grimaced a little.
I'll see what I can do, Gohan. Also, we probably shouldn't call you Gohan in front of the others. Do you have a code name we could use?
Call me Takiko.
Alright, Takiko. Let's go with that. Think you can keep up with that, Goku?
Gohan sighed. Listen, I think I should probably return to my timeline. Would it be okay if I left the little one with you? He's safer here than in my future. After what he did to save my life, he's most likely a target now. And besides, I think he would love to get to know you a little more, Mr. Piccolo. I'll be back for him though, don't worry.
Alright, but that's a big call. I'll try and take care of him.
Piccolo nodded slowly. And as such, Gohan walked back over to the other Gohan, who was playing with Basari. Hey, I wanted to say goodbye. Basari will be staying with you guys for a while.
Okay. It was nice to meet you, Mr.
Takiko. Future Gohan knelt down to look at his son in the eye, and looked calmly. Okay, Basari. You'll be staying with Mr. Piccolo and Gohan for a while, okay? Trunks and I will be back to collect you in a couple of years. Do you understand? Basari looked at him, rather confused and concerned, and unsure as to why, but he didn't cry or whine. He took it on the chin. He knew what was going on. He understood the plan deep down. Gohan gave Basari a big hug, and then walked back to the time machine. Before the little one knew what happened, Takiko was in the time machine and had gone, waving at him as he did so. Clearly though, Basari's brave face was for effect. He wanted to look cool for Gohan because once a few minutes had passed, Basari started to cry. A lot. For like 3 hours. Vegeta then yelled,
"What is with this brat? And could someone calm him down before I do it?"
Piccolo looked confused, trying to rock Basari in his arms.
Papa's, with you. Go on!
Gohan decided to fly over and try and, distract Basari. He got to face height and started making funny faces at Basari, who thankfully calmed down. Piccolo then handed Basari over to Gohan, who seemed much happier with this arrangement.
Alright, can anyone explain what's going on here? What's with the Namekian baby? And who is that upstart?
Goku and Piccolo explained everything, whilst also admitting the fact that Takiko was Gohan from the future. And just like in the original, everyone just went along with it. They decided also that they should be training for this eventuality instead of going for Gero right now, much to Bulma's chagrin. During the 3 years of this training, Basari stayed with the Son family, And Chi-Chi was reluctant at first for this to be the case, but the little guy did win her over, all just like he did with the counterpart from the future. She liked the idea ultimately of raising a little one, and the question of having another kid with Goku did come up in conversation, to which Goku evaded. Piccolo tried to visit and connect with Basri, but it was very difficult. Chi-Chi was even training him in the art of taking care of babies, thinking it might help. But Basri just kept crying when he was trying to hold him. Piccolo was getting more and more frustrated with this. This kid was supposed to be his kid, and it seemed like he didn't want anything to do with him. And despite this much safer and docile environment, future Gohan thinking that Basri might develop, he remained the same size, which concerned Piccolo. He even tried telepathic communication, but Basri got really upset about this, and it felt weird, so that was quickly nixed. The experience of trying to become a parent really upset Piccolo, though he tried not to show it. He wanted to help the kid, he really did, and even tried to build some sort of a connection. But the little brat was just refusing it at every turn. He simply didn't want to know. He wasn't as harsh with Basri though, like he was with Gohan at that age. And besides, there was something weird happening anyway. There might be one person who could help him for now. As Kami was watching the Earth from the lookout, Piccolo landed behind him, Kami turning around.
Piccolo, this is rather odd of you. I didn't think you partook in social calls.
The Namekian didn't bite.
Listen, I think I need your help with something.
And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. If you like this idea where Gohan went back to the past, check out this timeline here, where Gohan went Super Saiyan early. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!